Recording in progress.
All right, thank you and welcome to the Village of Buchanan Board of Trustees meeting of Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. I would like to ask Jonathan Tiernan to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is the of the United States of America, for which it stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with the approval of the minutes for January 3rd, 2023 board meeting. Any comments, corrections? Nothing?
I have none.
Make motion to accept the minutes for January 3rd.
All right, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, January 24th, special meeting. Anything there that has to comments? No changes? Okay, Sean, would you like to make a motion?
Make motion to accept the minutes as read for January 24th.
Okay, thank you. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then there was a January 24th workshop meeting. Any changes, corrections on that? Nothing?
No.
Okay, Sean?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as read for January 4th workshop meeting.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we're going to move on to the February 7th board meeting. Anything on that?
Make motion to accept the February 7th regular meeting minutes as read.
All right, thank you. Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Right. Comments from the floor. Do we have any comments from the floor? Agenda items only. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. One thing, tonight you're voting on the approving a vendor's permit to go door to door. And I was reading the applicant's letter, and it indicated that they would respect a do not call list. So I'm curious, do they have a do not call list, or are they referring to some general do not call list for that people register their cell phones on? I mean, or is there something that the village has regarding do not call or contact?
I believe it's a national do not call list.
Correct.
That's okay. So then, I just personally would rather not have anybody coming to my door, because mostly the people I like are not people that come to my door trying to sell me things. I would prefer that the village does not do this, but I know the code allows for the board to approve that. So at least I'd appreciate. I think you guys are restricting hours more than what they originally asked for. So
Yes.
okay. The other thing, I would like to just comment on just to a little bit to clear the air, because I know I made some comments and other people on the planning board made some comments about this board electing to be the lead agency for the secret review for everything, for the site plan secret, and obviously you're the only board that can do the zoning text amendment. The chuckling inside was after how many years I spent with the village and board, and so many times things got brought up and discussed and then dropped for a year and then brought up again, and things were getting done 5 years after the report. So my chuckling inside was that as soon as somebody came up and said it requested the board to be the lead agency for everything, it didn't seem to be any questioning of it. Everybody just went ahead with that. And then also in retrospect, being that you have to approve the zoning text amendment first before either you or the planning board could do the secret and site plan review, it seems like the same amount of time sequence no matter who does it. So and since as it seems to me now, we'll have a public hearing at the planning board. So the planning board will review with the applicant and give comments. At least that's what was discussed and said. I'm just not sure I see how this expedites things, given the necessary sequencing of things. But okay, I think the best result is going to be, you guys are all smart, you're going to ask good questions. I thought that the planning board had more experience with site plan review. So hopefully the best result comes out of this, where the input from both boards is combined into a sensible final result, site plan. And I'm certainly, in favor of seeing this thing go forward and don't want to put any delays up there, but I just wanted to share that. I didn't want there to be any hard feelings. It was nothing meant personally to anybody here. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Any other comments from the floor? The next is under new business. We had our Sergeant Tomietto retired, so we had a sergeant position open. We had two candidates, and so it was a difficult decision for the board to make. There were two qualified candidates. The board has chosen Officer Jonathan Tiernan, soon to be Sergeant Jonathan Tiernan, this evening. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jonathan Tiernan from police officer to police sergeant as of the completion of all civil service documentation. Can I have a second?
Second.
On a question? Okay, all right.
Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
So now I'm gonna ask Jonathan and JJ, his wife, to come to the front of the room, and I asked to have the board also come with me. Jonathan's wife is going to swear him in. And he has his daughter with him this evening too. Yeah, just give this to her. And take pictures?
Yes,
Okay, good.
I want everybody to get up there first.
Our official photographer is not here this evening, but
Which way are you gonna face?
we're gonna face this. We're gonna face the camera.
We got camera either way, so whatever you prefer.
Whoops. Okay, you get right in there. I don't want to cut anybody out. Okay, then we'll call you over.
I, Jonathan Tiernan, do solemnly swear
I, Jonathan Tiernan, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the position of police sergeant
of the position of police sergeant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right. Good job, JJ. Good job. Oh, excuse me. Marcus, you didn't get the.
Oh, I got you. Oh, wait. What's your daughter? You blocked off the daughter. There you go, ready?
Nice.
I'm behind him now, come on.
Okay, all right. I'll listen to the photographer.
You ready there? I'm sorry, everybody said. Chief, your head is blocked. There you go, Fred.
You didn't use the
1,
wide
2,
lens?
3. Now I got it. Perfect.
Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you. Jonathan, you had a Scott on the line. Is that a relation?
Yeah, in-laws.
In-law, okay. So they're watching you too, so.
Oh, maybe it's my brother.
Oh, Scott.
It could be just first name Scott. That's her.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next we're going to talk about the Village of Buchanan Board becoming lead agency for the AMS project. Would you, David, would you like to go over anything? I did like your letter that you sent to the board. And I appreciate all, keeping us all focused, but I really would like you to, on your letter, it's contemplated that the following reports documentation will be submitted as part of an expanded EAF submission. So if you could go over, just the bullet points of, what those reports will be and just give us, so everyone, this is a project that's on Albany Post Road that will be behind and next to the hardware store.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So as part of the process, you circulated a notice of intent to act as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, that's called the seeker laws. And you've received two comments back, one from Westchester County, one from New York State DOT, neither of which have objected to the village board acting as lead agency. So that you could coordinate the environmental review. So you do have a resolution before you that will declare yourselves to be lead agency, so you will coordinate the environmental review. But as part of that memo that you had referenced, in the code, there are special permit requirements for the board who's approving the special permit to require certain pieces of information. So I'll just quickly summarize that to the public so that they understand that there will be a fair bit of information that will be provided to you and will be made available to the public before any decision is made with respect to this application. And in summary, the items we've included are a survey, a property survey, boundary survey, title documents, including any easements or covenants, plans depicting environmental conditions, so whether that's steep slopes or wetlands that may affect how the site may get laid out or developed, zoning and existing land use conditions. And I would note that at the last meeting, there was some discussion about having some additional alternatives discussed with respect to the minimum lot size. And I believe that there was another property owner who's made the request that the village evaluate or have the applicant evaluate a different lot size threshold. Right now, under the proposed zoning, the minimum lot size is 5 acres. And I think that you could certainly, it's not unreasonable to ask the applicant to say, well, if you change that, that would change to 4.5 acres or 4 acres. How many other properties would be included as part of that evaluation? So that's part of the zoning and existing land use conditions. There would be a section where they would provide conceptual and rendered site plans with enough information so that you can clearly evaluate what the potential impacts are and understand what those impacts are. Access and circulation diagrams, that's particularly for fire safety and truck access. And it's noted that the applicant has already initiated some of that dialogue with the fire department with respect to access around a proposed building. Visual simulations and renderings, so that you and members of the public will have an understanding of what the building would look like from various vantage points. Documentation indicating the consistency with the goals and objectives of the village's comprehensive plan and your design guidelines. And they could provide illustrations and diagrams as appropriate. A municipal cost benefit analysis so that members of the public and you as the board will understand the type of real estate taxes that would be generated from a project like this, the school district impacts. And then one of the other complementary components to that is that each of the new households that moves into a residential development like this brings with it discretionary income. And while they won't spend all of that discretionary income in the greater Buchanan neighborhood or community, they will be spending some amount of money within the community. So it's important for you to understand that with this, with a residential community like this, there are some economic spin-offs that accrue to the host community. So the balance of the studies include stormwater management, impacts on things like steep slopes, wetlands, utilities, including water and sewer. And then because the property is located on Albany Post Road, a traffic and transportation plan, including pedestrian circulation. And I would note that in the design guidelines for the overlay, pedestrian circulation was one of the key components. So obviously that's a critical part of the evaluation. And again, if you have a new residential community that has a number of households, you want them to be able to conveniently be able to walk to some of the attractions that Buchanan has and to spend their money here right in the village. So, Madam Mayor, that provides an overview of some of the the specific pieces of information that we're requesting, the applicant provide before, you make any decision or before you hold even a public hearing. And you do have a resolution before you that would, allow you to declare the village board as lead agency. But if you're happy to answer any questions.
You know, I also want to mention there, I don't know if you were aware, if you were included on the emails, there were several members from the Planning and Zoning Board that were interested parties. They put some of their concerns and some of their thoughts. And, you know, just to let everyone know, their comments will be addressed. You know, you see the reports that are going to be compiled. And, you know, we've hired professionals, there's traffic consultants, our engineers involved, our planners involved. So we have professionals on board with this. So just to let everybody know, this is a process and we're just at the very beginning of the process. And, you know, of course, you know, we're looking for feedback, and also when we have the public hearings, that's also a time when people can voice their concerns or their comments.
And I would suggest that I have seen the comments that have been submitted on behalf of planning and zoning. And I would just suggest that those be made available if they haven't already to the applicants, so that they understand kind of the underlying thoughts that the community is, particularly the boards that represent the village, are thinking about.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any comments before I? read
Well, I have
the-
a question on the lots and blocks. It would appear that part of the M1 zone, the way the tax map is listed, might also have part of the adjoining property owner on that. I'm really not too sure about why there's so many lots that are gonna be put together. It was brought up by a member of the public. I was wondering if he would be willing to explain to the board what he was trying to explain to me this morning or this afternoon. Maybe we get some clarification from the applicant or Mr. Smith.
Good evening, everybody. So I looked through the petition submitted and
Well, you just gotta give your name.
oh, my name is Pascal Leon Carvalho. I looked through the petition submitted and on their map, they refer to their property as 43.20 when the property in subject is 43.16. That's the section and block that they're in. So throughout their petition, they mentioned their property as that. And I believe that 5 acres should be lowered, the minimum to at least 4 acres. The only property in the C1, C2 overlay zone that would be affected with the 5 acre minimum would be the petitioner's property. That's only one property that's spot zoning if you would put this into effect, because it would only affect one property. If you bring the minimum down to at least 4 acres, you have multiple lots in the overlay district that would have something to do with this change. I'm not against their project. I think it's a good needed project to the village to bring residents that can shop in our local places. I think it would bring more tax dollars, which we need. And overall, I think it's a great project, but it should affect everyone else who could get the most out of their property.
Could you explain the M1 issue that you were trying to explain to me? You had the map. I didn't see that map.
So on their petition, they have an image of the property and they refer to the whole piece as 43.20, block 3, lot 16, 16A, and block 2, lot 2. But the big piece of property is actually 43.16-3-16 and 16A. And then the smaller portion that's in the back of the property that abuts the lake is 43.20. So you guys refer to the property as a different lot that I don't even think exists.
You're referring to 4320 TAC 2, correct?
Yes,
you're
that
saying
is
that's a-
correct, but then the rest of it that's on their map says 43.2316, which is really 43.16-316.
So it's just a clarification of the lot and block number.
Yes, they use 43.20 in their whole petition referencing this property, but it's 43.16.
And then the 4320 is only M1, you have the 4316, type 3, type 16. That's listed. So, do you think that it's a material change or?
We just,
Because it's listed on the resolution.
oh, so we want we want the proper lot that's on the resolution, correct? It's just a correction. If that's
Yeah,
correct, I
that's
mean, I
correct.
haven't looked it up. I don't know.
The petition says 40, the resolution says 4316, block 3, lot 16 and 16A. Section 4320, block 2, lot 2.
So we'll look it up.
But do you feel that we can still vote on this and just get clarification?
Yeah, we'll just correct it and clarify it. Cindy's looking it up now, I think. Right?
So we'll clarify it before we read the
Yeah,
resolution.
because
So it's read in.
Because the
Correct.
piece in the corner near the lake, which is 43.20-2-2, that is correct, but then on their map that was submitted with the petition, they refer to the property as 43.20 when it's really 43.16.
But our resolution says 4316.
And if we clarify that, can we still vote on it, Mayor?
Absolutely.
I think our resolution is right. I think we just want to amend the petition.
yeah,
And then what the applicant put in, if there's a clerical error, but I just want to make sure we're voting on the right lot. That's
Because
all.
it
I
says-
think we are.
yeah, 43.20, block 3, lots 16 and 16A. Are you saying that's incorrect? Or in the
Can you repeat
petition,
that
you're
again?
talking about the petition?
Inside the petition, it refers
Okay.
to the property as 43.20, but it's.
I believe the resolution has the correct 43.16.
4316, 316. It's the larger lot.
I think it was the second.
And then we get the second one. 4320-2-2.
That's the M1 part, right?
And those are both referenced on.
Yeah, I just didn't really he just was asking me right before the meeting, I didn't really understand it, so I just wanted to clarify it, so we didn't miss anything.
And I thought he was saying the resolution, you were saying the resolution was incorrect. It's the petition that
No.
was corrected. Okay, I got it.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just the 43, it's just.
It's a small lot.
43.
Yeah.
Okay, so that.
Correct. Cindy correct with that.
Just the top part is,
Also, you had a different part to
Yes,
I'm referring to the petition that they submitted.
did we amend it before this meeting?
the resolution.
Yeah, the resolution.
Reflect the correct section one.
Correct.
Okay. And also, I believe that you guys should reconsider the acreage amount to at least 4 acres or below 4 acres, because it would only be subjected to one property that's above 5 acres in it. And we're 4.8702 acres, so we're almost at the 5-acre mark, but we're not fully there, so.
So what this resolution is going to do is to have the village board be the lead agent. Once the village board is the lead agent, then the lead agent would set the parameters for the review. And I had discussed that last month to make it like 4.5 acres, but it's not at that stage yet.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have to say. I really believe that this project and our project would be very beneficial to the village of Buchanan in many ways, and I hope we can move forward, bring Buchanan up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
thank you.
That comes from the petition.
Yeah.
So
I did have another.
Sure,
question.
yeah.
I know the applicant had asked us to become the lead agent. In the sense of this expediency, to move the project forward. Is that the reason why we're doing this, just for expediency?
Well, I guess we're, yeah, Dave, please.
So, the zoning text amendment is, under the purview of the village board, and we're the only, authorized body to amend, the village code. So that's the reason that the village board has been identified as the lead agency.
So in any case, the village board is always the ones that can be the only people that can amend the code. However, once it goes through a planning review, the planning board would give its recommendations, whether, or the zoning board would give its recommendations whether to change the code or not. And once we change the code, then the review process will go back to the planning board. It seems that we're changing the whole way that we've done business in the past for expediency to make. No, the village board is the only one that can change the code no matter what, whether the site plan is approved through the planning board or not. Now, the village board is gonna be the entire approval authority for the site plan, for any modifications to the site plan. And I know that in the text amendment, the state that it will be referred to the planning board and the zoning board for the comments. However, their comments are non-binding. If the planning board and the zoning board feel that that the board of trustees will be acting contrary to their wishes, the village board can adopt a resolution basically saying planning and zoning board comments are not valid and still go forward with the project, which is not the way it's worked in the past when it comes to zoning text amendment. There has to be a meeting of the minds between the approval authority and the planning and zoning board, and this is circumventing that process. So I know that it will go to the planning and zoning board for the comments, but like I said, those comments are non-binding, they're only in an advisory role. And I don't think that that's right.
We're good? Any more
So,
comments?
that's really all I have, but, it's shown that applicants representatives work for the applicant. I made many mistakes when I first came on the planning board. I always thought that the government was overreaching in a lot of ways. When my father was on the planning board, my stepmother was the mayor, all of our relatives were in politics, they were all on the school boards and such. And whenever I would hear them talking, I always thought they were doing overreaching, taking away property owners' rights, preventing people from developing. So about 20 years when I came on the planning board, I wasn't going to be that person. Then we started pushing projects through, and one after another, we found that sometimes the applicants don't work in the best ideas for the village. One of those early applicants is still a problem within the village right now. Another applicant came to us, said he couldn't make the project work if it was so big, if it wasn't big enough, because he had to recoup so much money. Another guy said, I have to put in 3 more apartments because after 2 years, I didn't know that the basement was made of rock. So I just think that, every representative is gonna work for their client in the best way that they can. I just think that, we should be following the process and the sense of expediency. Expediency is not always the best motivator for moving things forward. We should follow our processes and procedures that have made this village great. Slow but steady wins the race. I know there's been many times people have said, especially when we're talking about developing the M1 district at Indian Point, that the best possible use, it's been discussed for many years. We really even haven't come up with an idea of what the best possible use is. And now we're gonna change the whole way of doing business just so that somebody can shave 2 months off of the approval process or 3 months off of the approval process. So, I just hope that the board doesn't make the same mistakes I made. Took me a lot of years to learn that the processes are there and have been developed in order to protect the taxpayer. You can only build one building on one piece of land once. And that's why things have gone the way they've gone. We're not preventing anybody from doing anything. Anybody can come and make their case. But the process and procedure should be followed. They're tried and true. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so Cindy, on this resolution, the section lot and blocks are corrected. Thank you very much. Village of Buchanan resolution declaring that the village board will act as lead agency for proposed zoning text and map amendments to C1, C2 overlay district special permit and site plan approval for the development of unimproved property located on Albany Post Road and also known and designated on the tax map of the town of Portland as section 43.16, block 3, lot 16 and 16A, and section 43.20, block 2, lot 2. Whereas on or about January 10th, 2023, representatives of Buchanan Development AMS LLC, the applicant did submit a facially complete petition to the village board of trustees with the village board for an amendment to the zoning map of the village of Buchanan and amendments to the zoning code of village of Buchanan, generally affecting the C1, C2 overlay zoning district, the proposed zoning amendments. And whereas Article 12, Section 211-53 of the Code of the Village of Buchanan provides for the process and procedures for amendments to the village's zoning code, and the applicant has provided a draft of the proposed zoning amendments along with other supporting documentation. And whereas in relation to the proposed zoning amendments, the applicant will also seek from the village board a special permit to allow for the application of the C1, C2 overlay district to the subject site, and a site plan approval for the redevelopment of the subject site for multifamily residential development collectively with the proposed zoning amendments, the proposed action. And whereas on January 24th, 2023, at a special meeting of the village board, the board did review and discuss the proposed zoning revisions. And whereas the village board under section 700, the New York State Village Law and Article 12, 211-53 of the Code of the Village of Buchanan is the only duly authorized legislative body that has the authority to approve the proposed zoning amendments. And whereas after review of the petition, the village board acknowledges there are other interested and involved agencies as those terms are defined under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, or Part 617 of the New York State CRR, and should be notified of the village board's intent to act as lead agency. And whereas as its January 24th, 2023 meeting, the village board pursuant to 83.11B2 of the village code and 617.6 of the New York State CRR determined that the proposed action is subject to SECRA and is a type 1 action. Because to be circulated notice of intent to act as lead agency to the following interested and involved agencies: Village of Buchanan Planning Board, Village of Buchanan Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Portland, City of Peekskill, Westchester County Department of Health, Westchester County Department of Planning, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, and New York State Department of Transportation. Now be it therefore resolved that the required time for seeking input on lead agency status has passed. And the only agencies to comment were New York State Department of Transportation, correspondence dated January 31st, 2023, and Westchester County, correspondence dated February 14, 2023. And also there were several members of the Village of Buchanan Planning Board and Zoning Board that have sent their comments. And neither of which objected to the village board assuming the role of lead agency. And as such, the village board does hereby assume the role of lead agency and will coordinate an environmental review as required by SECRA, Part 617.7. So, on a motion to approve.
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you. Well, that was a lengthy thing to read, huh? Okay, yes. All right. And we are going to appoint a new senior director consultant. Mike Lepore was our last consultant and he moved away. And then COVID hit and a lot of things were shut down, seniors. Yeah, Dave, we're good with you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the review and everything.
Thank you, David.
So this evening, we are happy to announce that we are going to be appointing a new senior director consultant. And her name is Sue Giuliano, and she lives here in the Village of Buchanan. Thank you, Sue, so much for doing this. The seniors are so excited that they're having a new consultant. And you're going to be wonderful. So we're so happy. So thank you so much for that. So I'm going to make a motion now to appoint Susan Giuliano as Senior Director Consultant at a rate of $12,000 per year. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Come up to the mic so everybody can see you, please. Come up to the mic. So everybody can see you out on TV land.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I thank everyone for the opportunity. I've had the opportunity to spend the last 2 weeks meeting with seniors. I joined and I signed my husband up too. He doesn't know that, but I did. So, you owe me $20, by the way. We're gonna have fun. The people that I met so far, Joan, Marie, and Cheryl. I want you to know they work very hard. They spend a lot of their personal time but they really put their heart behind it. And I'm looking forward to joining their team. And I think we're gonna have a lot of fun.
I think so.
There's a lot of nice people in the group that I've met so far. Some I've known because we've lived in the village for over 30 years. My son Michael, who I'm very proud of, he works for the village also in the highway department. So it should be fun, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's great with the people, too. And thank you for your glasses.
Oh,
I forgot my glasses tonight, so thanks for helping me out, Sue. Gotta try Dan's now. Okay, so the next is, we've been working on repairing really getting a new boiler because was here since the year of the flood. And so we're going to approve a change order in the amount of $6,000 to increase the engineer's fee for a revised scope of the boiler work. Marcus, did you want to?
Sure, just if anybody hasn't seen the last meeting, we've been going back and forth for a while. We went out to bid. The bids came out extremely high. So the board rejected the bid. So we're gonna redo the bids, different options. And based on Trustee Capacotti's suggestion, we're gonna also add the option of replacing with oil burner as well to try to get all the options available. And hopefully we get a much better price and we can move forward. So I want to thank Anthony for his suggestion. I spoke to the engineer. He has no problem adding that as well into the scope. And hopefully we get better bids this time. Thank you.
Okay, great. So on a motion to approve a change order in the amount of $6,000 to increase engineer's fee due to the revised scope of the boiler work. Can I have a second?
Second.
On question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next is we're going to call for a public hearing regarding our budget. This is the time of the year we start working on our budget. So I'd like to make a motion to call for the public hearing on April 5th, 2023. Regarding our budget hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
On a question?
Yeah, what day is that? Is that a Tuesday or?
It's a Wednesday.
It's
Wednesday.
So it's the day after the organizational. meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next is, I think everyone knows we have been working a long time on an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Cortland, to have the town be able to come in to be part of our sewer system. So we've come to a tentative agreement. And since it's our facility and it's our largest asset, we're going to have a public hearing also on April 5th. So I'd like to make a motion to have a public hearing on April 5th, 2023 regarding the IMA Town Sewer Agreement. Can I have a second?
Second.
On a question?
On the question, do we have a copy of the agreement and did the town approve the one we're gonna have a public hearing on?
Okay,
Because it has to be available in public for 30 days.
so we had, a couple of us met with the town attorney and the town supervisor and one of their council persons. And there was Teresa, myself, and Trustee Capicotti. And yes, we believe, I'm sorry, trustee Laker, trustee Capacati was supposed to be there, trustee Laker came.
Golden secretary.
Anyway, so yeah, Sean, to answer your question, there were surprisingly, there were only 3 or 4 things that were discussed. They seem to agree with the last draft that you all have. They were minor changes. Attorney Tom Wood was to send that to me. He was going to do the changes. Nevertheless, I did the changes this Sunday and sent it to him for review. Because I think that's what we agreed on, and I'm still waiting for those responses that, you know, his response saying, yes, that's what we discussed, and I didn't miss anything. So I have that, and I'm going to give it to you before the public hearing. I just kind of wanted to give him one more day. I wrote him this afternoon again and said, could you just, you know, shoot me a yes, we're good? Because it was, you know, maybe three sentences, 3 changes.
Well, it's
To the
not
one
so
you all
much
have.
for, the village board has been involved with it for a long time. We know what's in it. But in order to have the public hearing, the
Yeah.
documents that are a source of the public hearing have to be available to the public.
Right. And so I'm waiting for that. The ones you have, the board has, are waiting on 3 sentences changed. I didn't want to give it to you today just because I didn't hear back. Telling me that I didn't miss anything from our an hour-long conversation that I think we agreed on. So I certainly will make that available and hope that he'll respond.
I think you should put it, like I said, it's gotta be available to the public, so.
Yep.
Even if it's only 2 sentence changes or 3 sentences, you should put it on the website and have it down in the village hall as soon as possible, because if we sit here and wait for 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm not gonna
you can't have it. You can't have a public.
No, I was hoping it would be here today so I could pass it to you tomorrow. So I agree that I will change from the green and the purple and the yellow. And make a final, assuming that that's what we agreed with. And if you recall, Supervisor Becker also did notify New York State that we had an agreement. So I'm pretty sure we have an agreement. I don't think anything has
And
changed,
that's all fine and good.
but I'll get it to you guys by tomorrow and you can post it and hopefully there won't be any changes.
What would be the lead time of getting it up on our website?
Same day.
10 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay, well, we should do that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, so we don't want somebody who's against it saying, hey, it was only available to me for 26 days. You didn't meet the intent of the law. You know what I mean? So. All right.
So we've set, on a
Gotta
question,
vote on
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Sometimes once we do on a question, sometimes I lose track. Okay, the next is, so we have, an intermunicipal agreement with the town regarding, use of equipment, shared use of equipment. Sometimes we borrow equipment from them, sometimes they borrow a bucket truck. And also I'm bidding with the town purchasing. Also, we're eligible and we have done it before. So when we do the blacktopping, I know, sometimes we go into the town bid if it's cost effective. And the timing works also. It doesn't always, we don't always coordinate with them. We're gonna try this year again to, because I'd like George, I hate having the blacktop done in October and we're at the end of the road with so to speak. We're at the end of the year. So I kind of like George to designate which roads we have, and I think you have what we have in the budget for road repair for this year. So
Yep.
we should, start picking the roads.
I'll
So
call them tomorrow.
and maybe we can coordinate with the town.
Yep.
Okay, so whereas the Village of Buchanan, Town of Portland have been cooperating with respect to certain intermunicipal services, and whereas the village and the town annually enter into 2 intermunicipal agreements, one which allows for the village to utilize any bids for supplies put out and accepted by the town, as well as an agreement that allows the village and the town to share each other's vehicles and equipment. And whereas it is the desire of both the village board and the town board to continue this intermunicipal cooperation, resulting in a cost savings to both the village and the town. Now be it therefore resolved that the mayor be and hereby is authorized to execute intermunicipal agreements with the town of Portland, providing for and authorizing the town's purchasing director to include the village in advertisements of all bids by him so that the village may utilize them, and to allow the village and the town to share each other's vehicles and equipment. On a motion to approve,
Second.
on a question? All in favor? So, this is something that Nick Zachary mentioned before. We have another, another company, Plug TV, that's looking for a solicitation permit to go door to door. We've already authorized Sunrun, which is a solar company, to go door to door. So now PV Plug is looking to do that also. So, and you know, Nick, what I would say to you, I don't personally like strangers coming to my door. But I've seen in some places where they put like a little sign out, no solicitors or no solicitation or something like that. And then I think they're not supposed to come to your door. That's, you know, my understanding. So we've approved one, you know, and it's kind of hard to say no to this. So I'd like to make a motion, to approve the request from Plug TV for a solicitation permit to go door to door between the hours of 12 to 6, Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
But not more than 2 times a week. And they, I believe, have, different things. They have different products than the other company. And they might also be solar too, but they also do other, products. So can I, have a second
Second.
on a question?
Oh, Nick, just one other thing. They did request different hours. And we mirrored this approval to the last approval, so we didn't show favoritism for one or the other. So we wanted to be standard with everybody who comes with us. It comes to us, that's all. That's all.
Okay, so thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the next, what we have here are requests to use the pavilion. And normally that goes to our recreation supervisor, but anytime that there's alcohol involved, it comes to the village board for approval. So the first one we have is,
As a workshop.
so I'd like to make a motion authorizing the use of pavilion serving of alcohol on April 23rd, 2023. And I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we always look for their insurance certificate also, and that's always important too.
And we look at the times.
Yeah, we don't go to 1 in the morning.
Right.
There's neighbors there, so. The other thing is the next one, just for full disclosure, is a relative of mine, but it's to use the pavilion. The next is, authorizing the use, I'd like to make a motion that authorizing the use of pavilion serving of alcohol on May 7th, 2023. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we don't usually like to put the name out there because sometimes there's surprise parties and then the person's not surprised anymore. So. The next is, this is something we do every year. It's the Length of Service Awards program that we have for the fire departments. And I will read to you the people that qualified. There's a required of 50 points for them so this is for last year. So these are the 50 people that have qualified for their it's a service award program that we do every year. It's almost like a retirement program. Stuart Bayer, Holly Eichler, Michael Eichler Senior, Jeffrey Fiella, Boston Grant, Jason Martin, Michael Murray, Angela Outhouse, Kiernan Outhouse, Robert Outhouse, Sean Outhouse, Al Park, Colin Park, Rocco Picciano, Andrew Roush, Michael Scott, Robert Wheeler, and Mark Young. So thank you. They really, for the community, this is great that we have these volunteers that, come out to help us, fires, medical aid, so we appreciate everything that they do for us. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the volunteer firefighters that have met the required 50 points for the service award program as provided by the Village of Buchanan Fire Department.
Second,
On a question?
yeah,
Yes.
like you said, Mayor, this is a retirement system. What it is for every year that you qualify, you get $20 per month. So you qualify for 5 years, you get $100 per month. It's up to $800 a month you can receive if you qualify for 40 years. You can start accruing points, in your team. So it's one of the incentives that many years ago, New York State put forward to try and help volunteers get members. So if anybody is young or even 20s, 30s, living in the village, you want to join the fire department, you can start to begin to accrue points as soon as you sign up with the village and become a member of the department. Like I said, it's one of the incentives. The other incentive to join the volunteer company is a tax incentive. The village passed a tax exemption, a partial tax exemption for village taxes last year as another incentive to help the volunteer services. If we have to pay for these services, our taxes would be through the roof. So our community depends on volunteers, whether it's the fire department or EMS. So come on out and help your community, and this is just one of the ways that we try to help out the volunteers to help out.
All right, thank you, Sean. Okay, so, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Every time, gets me all the time on the other question. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so information from officers and departments. Justice reports, January 2023, so it was $10,799 and also 2,623 dollars. Police reports, January 2023. I see here, I just read some of the highlights. Moving summons is 50, total calls 185, parking summons is 38, speeding 12, disobeying traffic control 15, uninspected motor vehicles 7, equipment, other violations 7. Highway report for January 2023, household garbage, 83.56 tons of household garbage. Bulk and dumpsters, 19.67 tons. Bag leaves, 1.28 tons. Still a lot for this time of the year. Metal, 5.99 tons. E-waste, 13 TVs, 6 monitors, and the grand whopping total of 114 Christmas trees. So, thank you, everyone. The highway department's doing a good job. They've been busy. Also, all our departments, everybody works hard here. Wastewater plants, I like to read, the gallons, 11,090,202 gallons. Sludge removal, 148,000 gallons. Everything is well over there, so things are good there. Building department, yeah, I'm sorry, our building inspector isn't here tonight, but they've been very busy. There's a lot going on here in the village, a lot of COs issued, certificates of occupancies, violations. So that's received and filed. Planning board minutes for January 26, 2023, received and filed. Zoning board, September 14th, 2022, received and filed. Okay, Buchanan Engine Company, 1 structure fire, 3 EMS assist, 13 mutual aid given. Thank you. Prosecutors report, I think everyone has received that, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Okay. Attorney's report, Attorney Stephanie, what do you have for us this evening?
Well, other than the IMA update, which I just gave, the only other thing is the license agreement. We are still waiting on insurance. And I'm not sure, whether they're gonna be able to obtain the insurance. Marcus, you might know better than I. We have an insurance broker that we work with, and I think the person who's seeking the license agreement was to reach out to, what's his name? RJ, right. But as of yesterday, they had not. So I'm not sure that they still have. So I mean, we can continue on this way, but other than me continually asking for additional information. I don't know what else you want me to say. The license agreement was done. It's not, I think it's finished. It's never been sort of approved by either your board or the other attorney because it's waiting on insurance. So that's the update on that, which is not really an update. Cannon Engine Company, I believe almost all the documents, if not all the financial documents, have been submitted, which is fabulous.
Mhm.
We're waiting on the changing the residency requirements with counsel for the BEC, which would be a state waiver.
Mhm.
And other than that, they're in good shape. Right?
That's correct.
I mean, I don't get those documents, but I have been checking. So in the beginning, a couple of months ago, wasn't looking so good. And I think they were just confused. The new person didn't know that there was a contract. Was supposed to submit.
Meeting with them too, and saying, you know, kind of getting people on the right path.
Yeah, and I think she just didn't know that she was required to submit them. So good for them.
Jan is a
And,
liaison, so everyone knows Jan is a liaison to the fire department, so he sat down and met with them and
And
just a little communication sometimes. Yeah, oh, that's
Oh,
right,
good.
Anthony was there, yeah.
Well, you guys did a good job because we've
Thank
got all the documents now. So,
Good,
um,
thank you.
so that's the only, I'm waiting on Tim Hennigan to let me know if and when he submits that, but I do believe, and I can't swear to it, but I believe they will get that waiver because we need volunteers and the state knows it.
Right.
So they're sort of rubber stamping, you just have to submit it. So, but, and I'll update you when I get that. Other than that, the IMA we discussed, and that's it.
Okay, good, thanks.
Just one thing to bring up to the board, based on the report that we got from, the general foreman the other week. He is trying to get a street sweeper to get into the village. We haven't been done in a long time. So just put on the record when that happens, we'll get to put a notification out. We're trying to create areas of the village of what our area is going to be, so it keep calls off the street, so that we can do the street sweeping. So when that happens, we'll put on Facebook, email blast, trying to get a notification out, talk to the police, DPW, put some signs up in the neighborhoods. And then hopefully we get a street sweeper. We haven't had one in years. So hopefully we can get the streets cleaned up a little bit better. So Scott is working hard to do that. Thank you for your suggestion, Dan, because he talked to the company you suggested. And they said they're more than willing to work with us as well. So we might have different options between the town and that company as well. So we're moving forward on both options. Thank you so much, Dan.
absolutely.
Yeah, people will be excited to see the street sweeper come out and then.
I'm excited when I see it.
Ours is.
Clean
the
my
one
street.
Is so old, it's
Oh, it fell apart.
it's like no point in taking it out on the street anymore.
I hear it.
It's seen better days, as they say. Trustee Murray, what do you have for us this evening?
Oh, thanks, Mayor. I just want to remind the public that on March 25th at 3 p.m. Brian Vangor, who wrote the book on Indian Point, will be at the Henrik Hudson Free Library at 3 o'clock. They can answer any questions. I did give a copy of the book to Marcus. I believe it's in the, I don't know where it is.
I still have it. I will give it to the historian next time I see him.
Yeah, give it to the story. I'm sure a lot of the seniors would be entertained by a lot of the pictures that he has in there. It's mostly a picture book. It goes back to where it was the amusement park up until the building, and it doesn't have too much about decommissioning, but it's a lot of the history that I'm sure a lot of the seniors will remember. It's pretty interesting. So if you want to go down on March 25th at 3 p.m. and talk to them about it, they'll have books available, or they're also available on Amazon. I was just wondering if you had an update on the Lens Cove land from Peekskill?
Really no update yet. Emailed the manager again. He told me he was going to speak to the mayor and the city council about trying to do a work with the village to move the property lines. I gave him a copy of what the state law is. So we go through that process as well. So I'm going to follow up next week again, see if there's any update on that, and see if the city council is willing to entertain it. If the city council is willing to entertain it, then both village and the city council have to adopt a resolution. There's a process to go through to annex property. So hopefully they'll be agreeable to move forward in that direction.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Also, now that the village board is the lead agent for the development of this property, I believe we all, they stated they gave us all a letter. We did get a letter about the size of his lot. Says that his lot is 4.87 acres. I know I had spoke about it at the last workshop meeting about making it 4.5 instead of 5. I just wanted to make sure that the applicant is aware that the criteria for his review is not gonna be 5 acres, but it's gonna require at least 4.8 acres, if not 4.5 acres. Is that the understanding of the board?
He was gonna look into it, the applicant, wasn't he?
Correct.
Asking him.
Right.
Well, we set the parameters for the review. So the parameters that we set for him was 5 acres. We could set the parameter at 4.5 acres or 4.7 acres. And as I stated last month, I don't think that's an onerous request for the applicant to, I don't think it's gonna be that big of a financial impact. It's definitely not gonna hold up his process at all. It's not gonna require really any changes, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You are not wrong, and I have spoken, with counsel for AMS and have explained that we'd like them to look into 4.5, and 5 acres as part of their, I mean, it's
We'll
not,
do it.
you know, you go on the GIS and you get it done, but we've asked them to do that for us.
So was he amenable to that
Yes, he
suggestion?
said we can
or-
do that.
Okay, that's
It's
fine.
all good.
So during the public hearing process, or when you guys put together the resolution, it can be changed then, or
Yeah.
we basically
Yeah.
change anytime as long as we have the documentation that it was reviewed and you have the documents to review to make that decision,
That's
correct?
correct. So before you change the zone is what he's talking about. Instead of it saying 5, we would change that.
Sure.
So yes, and they were very amenable to that. They said, what do we need?
Then it would be up to the other applicant whether he wants to change his application in
Correct.
front of the planning board. We would not be taking over lead agency of that project. It would still stay with the approval authority, correct?
No, that wouldn't be correct.
Well, the resolution doesn't include the other lot.
No, but the change to the code would,
I'm sure there's a way to work that out.
there is, and we'll talk about it. If, we'll discuss that.
You can just change his application in front of the planning board and not request that his lot be included in the special permit. He could just use it, the code as written.
I mean, I'd have to look at that,
Yeah.
but the way,
There's a way
the
to
way the
work it out.
changes are going, it would affect others, but we can work on that as a board. To see if the intent was to do that forever for any project over 4 acres, which might not be.
Mhm.
And so we'll change the wording before you have your public hearing on the local law.
Mhm.
So,
I was wondering if AMS has given us a approximate dollar value of the project so we can come up with taxation.
No,
The
no.
potential benefit.
that's part of the
Review.
secret review, and the review, they, we asked them to do that list. It's in that letter.
I'm
from
sure they
David.
have a cost
And that's
benefit
one of them.
analysis off the top of their head, whether it's a $4 million project, $5 million project.
Yeah.
They wouldn't go forward without a cost benefit analysis on, well, how much a square footage it costs to build apartment building in Weston.
No, I get it, and they've
Off the
been
top of
asked,
your head within 20%, 25%.
well, I don't think we've asked them that way.
It's an option. Because you might not get those reviews for several months.
Right,
And if
That's
you
fine.
find out you're only gonna make $30,000 in taxes, you might not want to go forward.
That's for the board,
Yeah.
if you'd like me to ask them to start with that one, I will certainly do that.
A couple of things. I see on the building inspector's permit, I'm sorry it's not here. Over the past few months, I've seen on there a fee for tree removal. Now, we don't have a tree code. Tree removal code, nor, if I remember correctly, we never instituted in a table on the fee schedule, a tree removal fee. He's been charged between $25 and $50 per tree. And this one is, one tree, $50 on Henry Street. So I was wondering, if there, you have to ask, I didn't go through all of these, but some of these seem pretty small to be having, fees, so I'm not sure how the fee schedule worked out with some of these things. So maybe that might be something we
We're gonna ask them.
to review.
Mhm.
So. And one other thing, there were some emails going back about the AMS. And I know trustee Capicati responded to Harmon about the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom. In his application, the applicant's application, he does say 1 bedroom is 56, 2 bedrooms is 78, and 2 bedrooms plus 14.
That would be a den.
Let's say again?
That was a den.
Then, okay, so the application's changed?
It's the plus, that would be the plus the den.
Then, yeah, so I would imagine if he only wants to, if he had a plus for a 14, it probably meets the criteria of a bedroom. That's why I would imagine he would put that on there. If not, he could just say, add the number calculation to the 2 bedroom, so that there is no possibility of having 3 bedrooms. You know, so it makes me wonder why somebody would say 2 bedroom plus. Means it plus means greater than 2 bedrooms.
Correct, it's a larger unit with a den, not a third bedroom.
Well, I'm sure it meets the criteria of it.
Or perhaps a home
Would it
office.
have a
Would it have,
closet?
yeah, a closet or a door on it?
If it
or-
did, then it would be-
We would be in control of inspecting that. so
That's what-
We have to
Well, once
find,
you approve it, you can't re-inspect it. Once
well,
the
if
CO
it's, if it's if it's considered a den, then there won't be a closet and a door to get in it.
Mhm.
Would there be?
I don't know, it's just.
I don't, why don't you know that?
It just makes me wonder why somebody would say 2 bedroom plus. You could
Plus
just
the
say-
den.
Mhm.
So.
That's what they described it on the
And
meeting.
what has happened in certain accessory apartments, when you have that den,
Oh.
it becomes a bedroom.
That's an accessory apartment, not a market value
Okay.
apartment.
That's probably where the confusion came from, because,
I don't think it was confusion.
okay. That's all I have, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Trustee Laker, what do you have for us this
Sure.
evening?
First off, I just want to congratulate Sergeant Tiernan and wish him much success going forward and thank him for his service this year. But also, I just want to say this past Saturday, the St. Patrick's Day was a great event to attend, and thank you to the entire committee that puts that on every year and keeps that tradition going. I also attended the City of Peekskill's St. Patrick's Day parade dinner this past Sunday. Their parade is this Saturday, the 11th. The Grand Marshal is Dan McCarthy, former town of Portland judge, as well as Village of Buchanan Justice. And the committee also invited any of the village officials to morning if they want to. I will not be able to, but if anybody wanted to, I can give that information.
Excuse me, Steve, but I also believe Dan wasn't he attorney?
He was the attorney and
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I just, wanted to review the names for the recreation committee. Mayor, I know we've discussed that a few times. If you can just,
You know what,
Get
I
that.
think, I think there's been some confusion, so I just want to clarify. I know I put you on the recreation committee, but, what I've done is forming a separate committee. What I want to do with that committee, I don't want any involvement. We're gonna have one preliminary meeting.
Mhm.
And then I want them to go off and make decisions. I don't want our recreation supervisor, like, with any input until, they've had a few meetings.
Mhm.
And then this way, because I want to get like, their own thoughts, and I don't want any thoughts put in, from anybody else, including myself.
Sure.
I just want to sit down with them and say, look, this is what we're looking to do. This is what we'd like you to do, and it's an advisory
Mhm.
committee, so,
I just
Yeah.
want to get that ball.
yeah, I know, there's so much going on, this, that, yeah, it's on my to-do list.
Okay.
Yeah, that list keeps growing.
Just a couple more things. Glad to see with the IMA, public hearing set for April 5th. I encourage the residents to please come out. Ask your questions, provide thoughts, because it is critical in the village, going forward. I'm glad to see that, and I just want to thank Supervisor Becker and the town staff, for working with us to get that moving. And the last thing I have, Peter's not here, but on the corner of White Street, Avenue Post Road, that the commercial building that's there, it's an eyesore, and something needs to be done to rectify that. It's just, there's a tarp over the roof.
More violation have been sent out again, they're in the prosecutor's hands. You're absolutely right,
Okay.
constantly, yeah.
Is it abandoned?
Oh,
Wendell.
the old gas station.
No,
Yeah.
The old gas station.
It's an eyesore going into the village, and it just
Absolutely.
needs to be corrected.
We cannot agree with you more.
and then there's construction.
Is it dangerous?
Yeah.
I went by the other day, I saw
Yeah,
that.
and it's
That's
not
good.
supposed to be there, and he's been told.
Engineer, George, I thought.
And last thing,
Yeah.
I don't know, Mayor, if you plan on going into executive session, I just have one personnel matter I'd like to discuss
Okay,
real
yeah.
quick.
Marcus, do you have anything else for exec session?
Yes,
Okay,
personal,
all right.
personal
For
matter too, yes.
personnel?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you. Dan, trustee Dan, what do you
Just,
have for us, Stuart?
Kudos to the parade committee for putting on a really nice event over the weekend. And then a couple other things. Steve and I had the pleasure of finally setting up a visit over to Tech. We did that yesterday. They just basically gave us a tour, showed us, where the fuel rods are being stored, where the casks are, kind of like what the process is. I would suggest to anybody has questions in relation to what's going on with decommissioning, if you really want to schedule something to go over there and get a walkthrough, I'm more than happy to do that. They're very transparent. I know some issues were brought up on social media, whether it was Facebook or wherever, with different groups about the dispersing of the water from the pools. That was also addressed and spoken about. Really, the process, my understanding was, and Steve could elaborate if it's any different, is it's been the same way, same process since 1962 or whenever they opened the plant, and that's the same process that's gonna take place to get rid of the wastewater. So it was definitely time well spent. It was overdue. So glad we had the opportunity to do that. And that's basically it.
Oh, hey.
You're next. Trustee Capicati, what do you have for us this evening?
Oh, okay. Just congratulations to Mrs. Giuliano. Good luck with that. I know it was taking a long time for the seniors to find somebody. I'm glad that we finally found somebody. And congratulations to John for Sergeant. Claire and Beth, great job on the parade committee. They did a nice job. It was fun. We had fun. A lot of people showed up, and you know, the weather was held out for us. It was a good time, and they always do a great job. I just want to touch on the AMS lead agency thing. Nick, thank you for your comments before. I appreciate it. I know I don't know if you read my email that was sent back, but it was my concerns with the miscommunication pretty much between the three boards. And I think moving forward, because we're so far that we are so in the beginning stages, let me say. We're in the beginning stages, and I think, you know, some of the comments are projected towards the end of development. So I think we need to stay where we are, stay focused, and start at the beginning together. And, you know, yeah, I get we're going to be the lead agency, but, you know, I'm educated in construction, you're educated in construction. We all have different opinions, which is a lot better for the turnout. And we all need to do this to benefit the village. And this is our limited parcels in this village, and we need to make this the best effort we can. And I think by working together with the zoning and planning boards, that is the best effort. And I will not make a decision on this board without consulting with the planning and zoning. And that's a promise I can make to you, because I feel that you're in place for a reason, we're in place for a reason, and we're going to work together and get this done correctly. So, no, I appreciate you. And as far as the IMA, finally, we got this IMA resolved. The town, Mayor Knickerbocker, worked diligently with Stephanie. We have a tentative agreement, which I hope becomes a agreement sooner than later. I urge the public to, once we get it on the website, do the research of the agreement, come to the public hearing, make, you know, say what you feel. This is important to us to hear from the village and make sure that this decision is right for all of us. I believe it is. Most of us believe it is, but we want to make sure that the community as well believes that it is. So, you know, do your due diligence and look at the website, come to the public hearing, and you know, let's hear what you have to say. And that's pretty much all I have for tonight.
The parade, you know, everyone has commented on that, but I think for the community, it was great because this was our first parade since COVID. So it shows, you know, we've taken a turn and we're all, you know, I think we're back on track with our lives. So, and as always, they work hard. It's not easy putting a parade together. So they did a great job. I wanted to mention to Sean, on June 26th this year, it's the 100th anniversary of the Indian Point Park. So what I'm thinking of doing is something on that weekend, either the Saturday, 24th, June 24th, or the 25th, either having, opening up his historical room and having it in Village Hall or something at the pavilion. And, you know, of course, we'd invite the gentleman who did that book. And I think it would be a really good historical thing for the community to see that, and he can, you know, have some books here, and that would be a fun thing for everybody, because there's still, like you said, there's still some people here that remember Indian Point, the amusement park when it was open. March 29th, Vietnam Veterans Day. Did you have your meeting with your group?
Tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow? Yeah, if you could just, you know, let me know how that worked out. So everyone knows on March 29th here at noon, and everyone is invited. And if you know a Vietnam veteran, please let them know we're doing this. We missed the cutoff for our newsletter, so we didn't advertise it in our newsletter. So we're going to have a ceremony, a Vietnam veteran ceremony here. So of course, everyone's invited. What I wanted to say, so I know, Sean, you had mentioned last week that there was, you had heard there was a tour of Indian Point.
Yeah, you told me it wasn't happening. I told you it was supposed to happen yesterday and you said no.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I knew one was coming, but I didn't know when it was. So just in the future, I'm the liaison, and I could have done that. So I'm very happy you went, because this is a hot button issue. And the more people are involved and understand what's going on, understand that the anti-nuclear people that shut down our plants have reared their ugly heads again. And they're trying to force the Village of Buchanan, they're trying to force things on our community. I'm thinking about resurrecting our Buchanan 2021 committee that we had. And because we really need to push back on what they want to do. One of the things, and it keeps constantly coming up, they want to put the solar panels on the property over there. Well, that's not going to work for the Village of Buchanan. We're not going to get what we need to get out of that. Also, and as I mentioned the last time, there's big water containers. They want to take the water that's been being put into the Hudson River for the last 60 years, way below the limits, way below the EPA limits. Sean mentioned last time, there's New York State speedies permits. But you know what? And that's how our plant got shut down. Nobody commented. We listened to these people. We didn't ask questions, and we really needed to. And we're in the same place again. So I don't like people from the outside telling us what to do. I have a problem with that. And what they want to do is all through the property, and I explained this last time, put big water containers. So not put that irradiated, well, it has tritium in it. Tritium is a naturally occurring element in the environment as it is. So they want to put, I don't know how many, I haven't gotten the number yet, all of these big containers that on the top have vents. So what would happen, this container would vent out tritium, would go all around the ground outside of so it'll be airborne on the ground. So it would contaminate more of the property. And that's what their alternative is to this. Their other alternative is to ship it to Ohio. Well, that's not an alternative. We wouldn't want it shipped here. You know, so the alternatives are not good. So I don't know how this is going to work out, because their thought of putting it into that container, then someday, when there's a different process to get rid of it, there's no timeline on this. When there's a different process to get rid of it, then we can get rid of it through that different process. Same thing as the spent fuel. I don't know. Who knows how long that those casks are going to be there. So
Could be very long time.
it could be, but that's the Department of Energy's, that is their responsibility. There's different things that are going on, but don't count on that moving out of there anytime soon. So that's why we proceeded to pass that legislation to make sure that's taxed, because that's pretty much going to be there for a while. But yes, so anytime, like I told you guys, and I know you work, so you have to, make time and figure things out. But the next thing I think would be good for the board to go to would be the sheetrock plant, which is another another hot button item. But anyhow, but that would be another tour, so you understand, what businesses we have here in the village. And I'm doing a documentary on Indian Point soon. And I was gonna bring some board members with me, but, you guys have seen it already, but I'd like to just do a simple, most people, Sean, you've been lucky, you've seen inside and out of it. And unfortunately, the board hasn't seen when it was operational. Fascinating. Just the science of it, it's just fascinating. But, I think the general public would like to see, what does it look like? What does a spent fuel cast look like? What do the 3 units look like? So I'm gonna be doing that and, and having questioning one of the people over there. So we'll have the general public will be able to see, what's going on. And I will get Trustee Cap Cotty over there one day too. It'll happen. Wow, a date. Okay, what else did I have? At the next workshop, I would like to discuss, so everybody please bring what they'd like to see work on this year. I'm going to have a list of things, and like I mentioned before, maybe the highway garage painted, there's certain things. So we'll, if you have something you'd like to see happen this year. So I'd like to discuss that. So once we get into the new year, we can be off and running and doing that.
Well, at that meeting, Mayor, would you be inviting the trustee electors? I'm not gonna be, well,
Oh,
I'll
you're
be
not
here
gonna
at
be
the
here?
next meeting, but
Oh.
not in April, not next year.
Okay,
So
but the March
whichever-
workshop.
Yeah, I'll be at the March.
Oh, okay.
But
All right,
there's
good.
gonna be a new trustee elect, so he
Yeah.
should be included in that, even though he wouldn't be in office.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, that they could definitely be there so they can see what we're planning on doing. The only other thing, I gave to all the board members, and if anybody would like a copy of this, of course, it's crazy season in Albany. It's the time the budget, they start working on the budget that has to be passed by April 1st. And we all know the housing plan, the 800,000 units over 10 years that the governor feels that, oh my God, feels that the state needs. Some communities do say, there's more housing that's needed. I have been involved with the Westchester Municipal Officials Association. I'm the president this year. The subcommittee came up with a good alternative. I'm just hoping that it's what she did, the governor did put it in the budget. So that is the worst thing to do. We're trying to work on getting it out of the budget so that there can be a discussion about it. Otherwise, it's got to be finalized by April 1st. And what she has is unworkable. There's nobody, even her own party is not for this whole thing. So the WMOA, I signed on to it, not as the Village of Buchanan mayor, but as the president of the WMOA. So I want the board to look at this and see if some communities are saying absolutely nothing, like absolutely no housing, don't tell us, blah, 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 blah. So this was an alternative to the governor's proposal. So if the board decides that they would like to send the governor a letter, we can do that. Some of the high points of this are, there was a TOD, transit oriented district, which the town has, and also the city of Peekskill would have. It's within a half mile of your train stations, your MTA train stations. And it would be a very huge increase in density in that half mile area. So, for example, I know in Pleasantville, I believe they have 2,500 housing, we have, oh gosh, what do we have, Marcus, about 800 here?
Yes.
So they have 2,500, the TOD could potentially put them to 5,000 more units. Talk about transforming your community. No secret. So you've heard us talking tonight about the secret requirements with skirt environmental review. So with this, the governor wanted to take the secret process out of it. So they're planning to circumvent our approval process. And it would impact our services all throughout New York State, not just us. It would impact services. Create zoning without local input. take away municipality leverage and approval process. So we have a developer in front of us. There's an approval process, there's negotiation, and it would take our leverage away from that negotiation. So yeah, it would be, it's not a good thing. I'm just telling you. So it's basically, it's for the developers. It's a blank check for them. And in our area, since we're downstate, she's looking for 3% growth through these communities. The only saving grace for us for many years is the developments that we have in the works would put us in a potentially in a safe harbor where they wouldn't bother us for many years. So I do have more copies of this. It's pretty thorough, but we'll see what happens. There's a lot of things that happened the last 2 weeks in Albany. As you know, bridge names get changed, things like that. So you never know where we're gonna end up. Oh, who said that? Okay. So, yeah, so, just go through that. And then if you'd like to send a letter to the governor from the board, we certainly can do that. Okay, so comments from the floor. Do we have any comments from the floor? Everybody looks for Eileen.
Everybody.
Everybody.
He and I have been visiting.
Oh, okay,
boy.
that's good.
My name is Lisa Lenz. I'm a fairly new resident of Buchanan. Very happy to be here. I'm very concerned about the proposal of leaving the tanks in the water at the end point. That concerns me a great deal. And I would, if there's something that the village is planning to do, I'd love to be part of that. And support that. So I just want to let you know, I agree with that. And
You're on the committee, Lisa. There you go.
Welcome.
I don't think that River Creeper Group is listening to the technical expert. He clearly said that the tanks were not safe. They were probably the worst option. He thought sending the water to the river as it's been done, although I'm sure that's not perfect, and I agree. I love the river too. That is the best option. So clearly, I believe there's an agenda to leave the water here in our community.
All right, thank you. Any other volunteers for the committee?
Not a volunteer. You want to
No.
go? A couple of things. So, the possibility of changing the number of acres on the zoning for the AMS, petition to change the zoning. I didn't hear anybody mention it, but I assume that there's an awareness that they may subdivide a portion so that the number would have to apply to what's left if they did do that subdivision.
Oh, you're talking about the carbon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear anybody mention that, but the number, you're going 4 acres, 4.8 acres, trying to figure out what it would be. Whatever it has to be, if it's going to be done, would have to be minus any area that they would subdivide off for a coffee shop or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to congratulate Sean and thank him for the years of service he put in. Sean and I have butted heads, and Sean and I have gotten along. Probably 90% of the times we agree. We've had some differences, but I have a great deal of respect for anybody that's willing to spend the number of years Sean did as mayor, as a trustee, as a planning board member. Did I miss anything?
Planning board chairperson.
Planning board chair, yeah. So putting in that number of years of service, I think is very admirable. It's hard to get people to do this, and we have new people here, for the last year, 2, 3 years, and so somebody that's put in that number of years deserves a great deal of thanks from the village. So I personally want to thank you.
I learned a lot from you, Nick. I enjoyed working with you.
You also,
You did good research.
always admired the amount of hard work that you put into this, and keeping on top of things. There's a lot of stuff to keep on top of, and I don't think anybody ever kept on top of stuff more than you did. I mean, the mayor also deserves thanks for the number of years she's put in. She's sticking around for now, but I also think that I mean, how many years did you put into this, between planning and
17, 18.
17, 18? Okay, so I think anybody that puts in 18 years or more should get a street named after them.
There's a lot more people that work a lot longer. Gary Bell's been here a lot longer.
So we'll get a Murray Street, and a Pepper Street, and a Zenithor Street, and Knickerbocker Street.
Free street coming.
23 years ago.
Oh.
full membership.
And counting.
Yes.
But no, thanks, anytime.
Is there one more meeting? Is there one
Well,
more?
yes, but I don't know if the workshop's televised now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Regardless.
You gotta come
I don't
back
know if I'll
again
get
now.
That one.
Thanks.
Eileen?
We can't close the meeting until Eileen speaks.
Yes, that's right.
Just, I want to also thank Sean for all his service and for all the excitement that you provided.
Not entertainment, right?
It was a lot of entertainment. Some good, some not so good. Well, let's be real, it was a journey with you.
Absolutely.
And you with him. Me? Yes, because, it was a back and forth kind of thing. All right, but anyway, I do want to thank you. I think it's admirable and, can't thank you enough.
You're welcome.
Marcus,
Yeah.
will that IMA that is going to be a public hearing, will that be on the website? Maybe you can catch that, but it sounded like Anthony said, yes, it would.
Yes, it would be. As soon as I get the final draft, we'll put it on the website. We'll email, Sharon does a great job. We'll email it out, it's put on Facebook, we'll get it on the website and
So
everything.
as
else.
long as everybody's got an opportunity to read it before the public hearing.
Oh, it's long, long time.
In regards to the affordable housing, has Westchester changed that since last year? Last year, if WMBF, that the courses, they had an affordable housing course. So what I'm asking is that it was either 22 or 21, but have they changed the requirements, like say for AMS and for Carbone's project? Where you have
It's
to have,
it's in the
let's say,
comments.
Yeah, it was under the comments. It was under the comments and it's a suggestion.
Right.
There are things are suggestions.
there's no requirement on
Well-
projects that we have.
No,
coming
No.
not from them, but one thing that people aren't aware, and maybe that's why it was so easy, so for us to get people interested in development here. We're one of 4 or 5 communities, there's 45 communities in Westchester County. We're one of 4 or 5 communities that does not have a affordable housing requirement
Right.
for any development.
Okay, also, you said half a mile away from the train station.
Within a half a mile circle around the train station.
I heard it was 1 mile
No, it's
on the radio, on a
Uh,
program.
Yeah.
So it's like, that was the case.
It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot of people and we miss it. We're in between Peekskill.
I know that. I mean, but when I heard 1 mile and everybody else was saying half a mile, that was a big difference.
It could be. Yeah.
Okay. I had one other thing. I can't remember what it.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Any other comments? Okay. Oh, you found it? Go ahead. No. That's good.
It's like a tag team.
Last comment. Pete Markham sent out an email with all his little to-dos that he's got on thing. What can the board or anybody do? He's got a bill. Dana Levenberg has
Mhm.
going in with him in regards to the water into the Hudson River.
Mhm.
Does that have to go, how does that work now? He's got the bill forward. He put the bill forward in the Senate. So it has to be approved by the Senate and then go to Hochul.
So what you can do is you can go on the New York State legislative website.
Right,
You type in the bill number
right.
and you'll see the process. You'll see there's a
Oh, okay.
timeline. So it'll say it's read twice, then it goes to subcommittee, then it goes to assembly, then it's read again in the Senate, and then it goes to the desk.
All right, did he
Okay.
have to have her from the assembly as a co-sponsor?
Well,
Or she just-
anybody,
yeah.
you can just be a co-sponsor for any bill you want. It still has to go through the same process. The more co-sponsors you have, the more likely the legislation will pass,
Right.
because obviously everybody likes it. But one of the one of the pitfalls of that legislation, it states that no radioactive material can be discharged into any waterway.
I know.
So nuclear power plants aren't the only ones that create radioactive material. So if, say, you go to the doctor and you have some radionuclide testing, and then you go to the bathroom, it's part of a bioassay, so now that goes into us. And the village would be discharging radioactive material to the navigable waterway just through our wastewater system.
Mhm.
Any hospital would not be able to have their sewage, they would have to maintain all of their sewage on site, because they use all the radionuclide. All right, also, reactors that create testing, like if you're making a smoke detector, has americium-235 in it. Any place that makes a smoke detector can't discharge their water. Anybody who makes reflective exit signs, that reflection is trivial. So there's a lot of pitfalls that are in that bill. I think that's just something they threw up against the wall to say, look how I'm stopping, because Indian Point isn't the only nuclear plant.
Well, I
In New
know
York,
that.
there's 3 other nuclear plants that are currently operating.
Wasn't there gold for Holtec?
Oh,
Wasn't that their
absolutely.
goal?
Oh,
Even
absolutely.
though they went splat,
Mhm.
What do you mean, trickle?
that was their goal, was.
Oh,
to
that's
stop
part of the goal.
Holtec.
Yeah, that's right,
I
but,
mean, but
you know, when
then
you,
they didn't, they didn't think about all the rest of the radiation that might be, let into the waterways.
there's a
Up and
lab,
down Hudson.
there's Saratoga, there's a test reactor for the Navy. There's labs in Long Island, and there's tons of places that create radioactive material that discharge under NRC regulations and their speedies permit.
Okay, but the board can't do anything in a letter stating that they don't want this or not.
We've done
I-
that. We've.
Yeah,
done
we've
it
done
in the
that, but
past.
I
I
think
know you've done it
I
for
don't think it
different
matters.
things. I
for
just
what
want-
Sean is saying, and there's other information that I know, I think they're in for a surprise.
It has no hope of going anywhere, without being modified.
Okay, good, thank you.
And I know some of the elected officials in the area are being pressured by the anti-nuclear, and I couldn't believe one of our residents had said, who was very upset that the plant was closed by the activist, that thank God for the activist. Pay attention what's going on. I mean, you have to question everything. So what I would also tell everyone, it sounded like Lisa listens to the decommissioning oversight board.
I listened to it after listening to you speak again, Eileen speak, so I listened to that 4-hour meeting.
4 hours. You're good. Yeah, there's another meeting coming in April, and we always advertise it on our site, but it's the decommissioning. I know he's not gonna be happy with me, Tom Cogden, who's the chairman of it. But this is just becoming an extension to the anti-nuclear agenda. I want to hear both sides of the story. I want to have the information. I want to understand, so, okay, we've heard your side, the anti-nuclears, but for me to make an educated decision, I can't do it when I'm getting blasted in the ear by anti-nuclear people. They have an agenda. Like you said, there's an agenda. So for all of us to make an educated, decision, well, we gotta have the information too, so we need to hear the other side.
I would welcome a medical doctor, but one that's not.
Anti-nuclear? Yeah, right. So. Joan, how are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you for coming out tonight. She's all smiles. Look how happy this woman is. Good.
Joan Cito, I'm the president of the Buchanan Seniors.
Move the mic down so we can see your face. There you go. Much better.
First, Sean, I don't know if a lot of people know how active you've been with the American Legion.
Mm.
I have to say thank you,
You're welcome.
because my husband was involved as well. And he does a wonderful job, and he's a great cook.
I hear
I
that.
have to get that out. I have to get that out. Firstly, I just want to thank the board for assisting us and providing us now with our senior consultant. We've kind of struggled, as I'm sure you know, over the past year. And Cheryl and Marie and Chris and the other gals on the board have tried to keep things going, and we've done it, but we needed more. We needed to get back to where we were. And now I see that coming in the future. Susan, whom we chose, I'm sure is going to do a great job. We will be there for her. And I have no doubt that our club will go on to have some great trips. And I do want to say that I just have to bring this up. I had a neighbor who was 80 years old when Jack and I first joined the seniors. And I said, why don't you join with us? You know, it'll be great. Go on a few little trips. She says, I'm not going any place with those old people. I want to say that a lot of residents, when they hear the word seniors, it's like, oh, all these old people, as she thought. A lot of vital people in our group.
Absolutely.
And if you went to the town of Cortland, you'd watch them do gold Zumba and line dancing. I mean, we don't have the facility to do that kind of thing. We can do it maybe on a smaller scale, which may come up in the future, but in any case. We're looking forward to working with Susan, and I'm sure we're going to have a great time. I just want to interject a little bit about Indian Point. I had the opportunity to go on that tour, and it was with seniors back several years ago. And when Jack and I moved, several of my neighbors were like, oh, you know, Indian Point and nuclear energy. And I said, why don't you do this? I'm going to set this up for you. And I set up an appointment. 15 of them, or 10, I think it was, you had to do. And they went down and they went on the tour. And when they came back, they said to me, thank you so much, because we feel so much better. And I will tell you that I was so totally impressed by the security, by everything that we were shown. And they even gave us lunch. That was great. But I just want to say that, and I also want to say that approximately 75 years ago, I rode the Caterpillar.
Oh, okay.
And we used to go there for picnics. And I lived in Austin, you know,
Said it
all
was a
those years,
beautiful
but
car.
yeah, I do remember that, and I do intend to buy that book.
We do have a map. There's a map downstairs of what the amusement park used to look like.
I saw it.
We couldn't include it in the book because we can't verify its authentication, so that
Oh.
map is not in the book.
Oh.
But it
okay.
is a depiction of that.
And that
You can
was a
see that the
cool
rowboat lake is still there, it's a
Yes.
dam lake.
thing. And the boat that came up the river. Then-
So that's all on the map,
Yeah.
so it's accurate.
But that was cool, the Caterpillar, because then the thing closed over again, it was dark. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank
I'm sorry I had moved out of Buchanan, but 38 years, you know, that was good, a good run, and I still love it here.
Well, what do they say? Once a Buchananite, always a Buchananite.
There you go.
And to join the seniors, you only have to be 55.
That's right.
So anybody 55 and over can come in.
Have Lots of fun.
You can see they're a fun group, so anybody interested.
So what do you think?
I'm taking names.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other comments from the audience, the board? No? I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel. Thank you all for coming and have a great Buchanan day.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Sue, thank you, thank you. No, that's okay.
Recording stopped.